Good evening, good morning to those who are watching this video. Let's talk about trades in the football world. What are the biggest trades you have ever heard of that it literally blows your mind? Like Deshaun Watson trading to the Browns for 3 first-round picks. What about the Russell Wilson trade from Seattle to Denver for 2 first-round picks? And what about when the Saints literally traded everything to the Redskins to grab Ricky Williams? Well, what if I tell you that we have 2 professional teams in the football world that literally swap their entire rosters to each other? But before we get into that, we need to provide some context of how did we get to this point. So in 1983, that was the launch of the United States Football League, or the USFL. And of the 12 teams that was part of the inaugural season, we're going to be focusing on 2 of those teams, the Chicago Blitz and the Arizona Wranglers. The main personality we're to focus on is the original Blitz owner named Dr. Ted Dietrich, who is a cardiovascular surgeon, and head coach George Allen, and then eventually the people that will be joining along and when the trade happens. So after the 1983 season, the Chicago Blitz has a successful season, going 12-6, but losing in the first round in the playoffs versus the Michigan Panthers. But on the other hand, for the Arizona Wranglers, it really did not went well. So this leads now to September 30th of 1983, when 2 teams did the impossible that nobody would ever see coming. The Chicago Blitz and the Arizona Wranglers trade each other. Now, I know it may sound confusing right now, but it will make sense the more we talk about it. So, at this point, the Chicago Blitz and the Arizona Wranglers traded their entire rosters to each other. So now the Blitz is the new Wranglers, and the Wranglers is the new Blitz. So George Allen is now the coach of the Arizona Wranglers, and Doug Shively was not going to coach the next season for the Wranglers due to a poor performance. So then the new head coach of the team, of the new Blitz, was Marv Levy, who was a head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. And Ted Dietrich came up with a reason why he wanted the trade to happen. It's because he never wanted to make 9 3-hour flights to Chicago. That's mainly what that reason is. There was pretty much no other way. Even like in this book, which I highly recommend you should call Football for a Buck by Jeff Pearlman, the people that try to figure out why it was happening, they were just stammers and stutters. So in addition to talking about Marv Levy, he thought he was going to get a good team. He's going to coach a new team. But the new Blitz owner, James Hoffman, a doctor from Milwaukee, told them, you know what, you're really much not getting a good team. So nobody notified Marv Levy about that. And adding on to that, none of the players that were traded were notified that the USFL failed to do so otherwise. They were players or coaches and other personnel or staff that had to sold houses, and they had the children change schools because of this catastrophe of a trade. And what's funny about this trade is that the Blitz traded 21 people to the Memphis Showboats just to have the Memphis Showboats traded 20 of the 21 players. And that is utterly insane. So after the initial responses of this trade, how did the Blitz and the Wranglers deal with that? Well, let's go start off with the Blitz side first. So before leaving for the new Arizona Wranglers, what George Allen did was utterly insane. He stripped down the entire Chicago Blitz facility. Anything that has Chicago apparel or Chicago merchandise and anything that on his desk, like pencils or staplers and stuff, he said, you know what? Strip them away. If they wanted to get stuff, they have to buy their own crap. And to be honest, it kind of worked, because now the new Blitz owner of James Hoffman never had the money, nor he had the patience of running his team. And by the second week of the preseason, when they lose to the Michigan Panthers 21-20, he was talking to Dan Jeggett, who was the offensive lineman of the team, and Hoffman said this, you know what? I'm out. I'm out of here. Jeggett said, you leaving town? No. Hoffman replied, I'm done with this. Jeggett said, what do you mean? And Hoffman said, I'm finished. So, in other words, Hoffman just ups and left the team like he was a ghost. And the USFL had to come in and they had to take over the organization operations with the minimal of money they can have. So to make things matter worse, the new Blitz ended up firing most of their front staff, including the general manager, Ron Patonik. And the team was still so poor, even under the USFL operating the team. Mark Levy, the head coach, said that for Christmas, he had to wrap toilet paper as a Christmas gift. Like, what? And the team did not get their team vehicles until there was like 2 weeks left of the season. And they were supposed to have this big St. Patrick's Day celebration party against the Memphis Showboats, but only a total of 350 people showed up. It was a catastrophe for the Blitz. The Wranglers, on the other hand, it was a bit better, but there was one person that really tried to take things under his helm. So when George Allen became part of the new Arizona Wranglers, he wants nothing to do with the 1983 Arizona Wranglers. He wants everything gone, especially with the disastrous 4-14 result. But when Steve DeGeorges, the team's public relations member, came with a 1983 media guide in his hand, and George outright tells him that he is a loser because of it. Like, George Allen could be a really decent coach, but at the same time, he's kind of being a bit of a prick because he wants to run things his way. Like firing someone that thinks that, oh, we had sold a good number of tickets, but you did poorly. So the employee got fired out of that. And the Football for a Buck by Jeff Pearlman explained him perfectly. He is a creature of habit. He once ordered a bowl of oatmeal that is hot with no sugar added and has a lot of raisins. The only issue was there was no raisins, and he humiliated the waitress, and he lashed out at the people in the kitchen that did not have raisins. Like, everybody around him was embarrassed except Allen himself. See, he was so almighty and he wants things to run his way. Just to make things a little bit of the matters worse, the Wranglers landed a lawsuit in his hands by the team's tight end, Tim Reitman. Tim Reitman was playing basketball at the complex and he ended up tearing his right quadriceps. And his agent called him saying that he was not getting paid, while Reitman responded, but I injured it in the facility. So Reitman not only ended up suing the Arizona Wranglers, but he also sued George Allen. But the meeting was pulled because they did believe Reitman, but they had to put a lien on George's house. So this was a catastrophe that was the USFL roster for roster trade. As a result of that, in 1984, the Blitz did horribly as predicted of what was happening, and the Wranglers ended up getting into the USFL championship game against the Philadelphia Stars, but just to end up getting demolished. So, what do you guys think about this trade, and what other big trades that you think that was very ridiculous? I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.